All right, so I just had John Marrone on the show. You are just in for just a powerful episode, and his power of moving himself forward from just a life of really being drug addicted, homeless, going to jail, living from couch to couch, going from rental to rental, to finally getting in a house and getting crushed by a hurricane that really drove him to know there has to be more out there. There has to be more with his life, and to what he's doing today, just being a growth expert, how he's pushed his life forward, the steps he's taking. We dive into how you need not compare. You need to build your foundation, set your standards, and find your motivation in the meaning and not in the mood. You're going to absolutely get tremendous value out of this show. Look forward to it. Get in there now. Take a lot of notes. Let's do this. All right, so hey, John, how you doing?
Doing amazing, brother. Super excited to be on today.
So I mentioned off page here that I connected with you. I actually heard you on a podcast, and of course you talked about your story and how Hurricane Sandy was this pinnacle moment in your life that changed it, and which really fit to my narrative because it changed my direction for many years after that, because that helped or really spawned me to move outside of New York City and head back to New Jersey to help the family business. So give me a little recap on that. You had this life that you've now completely dramatically transformed into what you're doing today, but talk to us about Hurricane Sandy. And for people who don't know, it was a massive hurricane that happened here on the New Jersey coast and really the East Coast in general. And for a lot of us, we didn't take it seriously, right? Because we just had Hurricane Irene 2 years prior, and everybody's like, this is going to be the one and only biggest storm in the world. And then all of a sudden, Hurricane Irene pretty much passed over the Jersey Shore, hit upstate. So when Hurricane Sandy it happened, like, okay, we learned our lesson. Nothing's going to happen here. We'll stay. And it ended up being this monumental storm.
Yeah, it was, man. And I'll rewind right before Hurricane Sandy, just because I'll give people some context of, growing up, I got into addiction pretty quick. So addiction to fighting, to drugs, to negativity, to gossip. And that really shifted my life to making obviously really bad decisions. And those bad decisions wound me up in jail, living from couch to couch, living in motels. And I met a great Christian man named Pat Neccarado, probably about 2 years after I got out of jail. And I was living in a motel, then living in small apartments. And he helped me really guide me into how to build businesses, marketing as well as sales. And from there, it was about 2 years I was working with him. And I changed a lot as far as what I do for businesses, but not what I do for me. And so it was about 2 years I started working with him, and I started doing a little bit better, and we finally got our first house. We rented it, but it was our first house, no longer apartment living in the 600 square foot apartments on the Jersey Shore. And I remember because we got this house October 1st, and Hurricane Sandy happened around October 28th. And like you said, Jason, it was like, I remember the fire trucks coming by and saying, it's voluntary evacuation.
Wow.
Now,
yeah.
I'm from Jersey. I'm Italian. That means I'm super stubborn, right? Like it's
right here, same here. Italian
right?
family. Yep.
And that's just a blend for a very stubborn person and also selfish in many times. And so I was like, you know what? We'll be fine. We'll be good. And so I brought my family from their motel to my house. And we went outside at 7 o'clock at night. And I remember going out there and it was whipping. I mean, you could almost stand up just vertically, then all of a sudden try to lay down and the wind will hold you up. And it was that intense, but it wasn't raining or anything. And so we went inside and we're playing Monopoly in the bedroom, and I heard this trickle of water. And I looked into my living room and I saw this trickle of water come through the living room. I'm like, what? I was just outside an hour ago. How can this be happening? What's going on? So I got up, I opened up that door, and as I opened up the door, there it was, 4 to 5 feet of water, just roaring rapids. Boats flipped upside down. There was pieces of dock that were smashed into my house. Cars were underwater. Alarms were going off from the cars. And then within minutes, the water crushed through the foundation and started filling up our house. So we got everybody up into the attic. It's a one-story house. And we're sitting up there, and all of a sudden, the water starts rising rung by rung by rung, and a tree starts hitting the roof. Remember, it was like 125 mile per hour winds. I mean, it was whipping out there. Mm-hmm. The water started rising rung by rung, and the trees hitting the roof, and I felt this compression. And I looked back at my family, and I said something I never said in this context, and I said, what kind of impact have I made? Like, really, what have I done in this world? And I said, if I get rescued, when we get out of this, I will live impact first, income second. And water receded. We got rescued by a jet ski, then a front loader. There's a whole story between that. But I remember the big aha was sitting in the shelter with all these other people who their homes got destroyed. And I was sitting there with my girlfriend, now wife's white snowflake fuzzy pajama pants on. It's all I had in the attic, with some cleats from my softball league, and then a shirt that was all raggedy. And I said I was going to make a change, and I just don't know how. There it was, right? The ego was dropped. And in that moment, I let go of the ego and admitted, I don't know what I don't know. And it was my biggest opportunity to grow. And from there, I've been able to just invest in myself with conferences, coaches, and digest content after content, and implement in my own life to change my life to now living the life of my dreams, honestly, and being able to help thousands of people, whether it's speaking from stages or in my coaching groups. And it all started with Hurricane Sandy paying us a visit. And some people say you're a victim of Hurricane Sandy. And no, if it wasn't for Hurricane Sandy, Jason, you and I would not be talking right now. Right? I would have still found a way to sabotage, be selfish, and be stubborn, and have my ego get in the way of my growth.
You know, and that story is huge. And I think what would be really beneficial is that first step you took, because being open with yourself to say, I don't know what I don't know, and I need help, right? Well, there's a lot of people that are potentially listening right now that fit that same environment, right? They're like, I'm in a really bad place. I need help. I just don't know where to start. What was that first step you took once you had given yourself permission to understand that you needed the help?
Yeah, it was just started with what do I want, right? Yeah. A lot of us walk through the day wanting success with not understanding what success looks like. And here's the thing, it can and it will change, but it was like, what's the first thing I need to work on? Man, my morning, it's like I wake up at 9 versus I know I should waking up early. Who out here in this world, social media world, there's plenty of them that are doing it well, right? Hal Elrod with the Miracle Morning, or Darren Hardy with his methods. And so I just, boom, and I would just investigate and I digest their content. So the first thing is figuring out what you want, right? What is it that I want and where am I struggling? And I didn't try to, eat the whole elephant at once, as they say, right? It was brick by brick, piece by piece. And that's where a lot of us fails. We're like, we know that we need a lot of change. So we try to change all at once, never really truly being able to change it all because we get overwhelmed. So the first thing is identify where you are, figure out what you want, and who's the resource that has the tools to get you to that next level of whatever that area is.
And what's huge about what you said is identify what you want, right? Because so many times we identify it by looking on the phone and seeing on Instagram what somebody else has, and I want that, but you have no emotional tie to it. It just looks good, right? It sounds good on paper, or it looks good in a picture, and so you assume you want that, but you don't get that because you don't really want that, right? It's not something that you're naturally drawn to, and you take that step, right? And so you formulate that idea. How can you put an action plan behind that?
Yeah, and I love what you said, because you hit on a key thing that I stress a lot. We try to find motivation off of mood, right? And then we wonder why we can't stay consistent. Well, we're an emotional creature, which means our moods are always ever changing, and our circumstances dictate our mood. So the first thing is identify what is the meaning that you're going to put behind everything. What is it? What is the meaning you're going to put behind everything? Because you need to find motivation off of meaning, not off of mood.
Yeah.
See, there's a reason why when you take action, you have a distraction. There's a reason why when you take action, you have a distraction. It's because you don't have a meaning on why this is so important. Jason, if you and I were talking right now and it wasn't that important to me, I could find a way to get distracted with this, with that, looking outside. I could find a way. But this is important to me. And why is it important to me? Because if I just have one thing, one message that could change somebody's life, and it could change their family's entire future, it means something to me, right? So what I always find is behind the mundane, because it does get mundane, man. Like it does, like when I say my gratitude every morning, my affirmations, working out, it gets mundane, almost like, you know, you want to stop doing it because it's so routine, because our body wants this change, even though we resist it a lot of the times. And so I put meaning behind the mundane. I put it behind everything. And so the first action step is find that why. Now, I'm not here to tell you to find this deep-rooted why right now. Me and Jason, we don't have enough time to go through that. But what you could do is find a momentary meaning. What I mean by that is, what in the next 12 weeks, what in the next 30 days do you want to accomplish, and why is it so important? Maybe it's to make $10,000 to pay off that credit card debt because it's weighing on you and causing stress. That stress is then affecting your health and your confidence, which is affecting your sales, also relationship with your wife or your husband, right? Way bigger picture. So $10,000, that's what it is this month. And so finding a momentary meaning is super powerful. And I love Simon Sinek and all these people who talk about a big why. I have one, but it's very hard to tap into it on a daily basis. You need to tap into a momentary meaning so that you can go ahead and go. And sometimes it could be money. It could be the fact that people are fighting overseas right now for our freedom, and you need to take advantage of this moment for them, whatever it might be. So find that meaning behind the mundane. And then the other thing is have intention, right? Intention. And too many of us want to find this balance in life, and there's no such thing. There's only integration. There's only integration. So what are you doing on a daily basis to ask yourself in these 6 equities, what does success look like in my health, my relationship, my business, my finances, my personal/leisure, and then my spirituality? Every day, ask yourself that. And it could be something so small of my relationship. It's writing a note on the mirror saying, I love you. Wait, does that get you a little bit closer to progression of your relationship? Absolutely. So ask yourself that every single day, and then not falling in love with the idea of perfection. Not falling in love with the idea of perfection. Too many people are out there chasing perfection when all you need to do is just chase progression. Like, that's it. Perfection's not real, guys. Like, it's this made up thing. Just like money, right? Money is just like this made up thing that the people think has value, but really money you exchange for the real value, which are services that bring value to your life, right? So for everybody listening, like, think about intentionally integrating your life, finding meaning behind why you do everything, and then just making sure that you understand the power of action, massive, aggressive, empowering action on a daily basis. And that's progression. Like, it doesn't need to be perfect. You got to start before you're ready. My workout today, man, it was not perfect. Like, by any means. I think I zombied through the whole thing, but guess what? I did it. Right?
Yep.
I did it. That compound effect. My 2 miles was 30 seconds more than yesterday's 2 miles. But guess what? I did it. I flexed the muscle of the mind. And it's how fast that we can go ahead and at the snap of our fingers, flex the muscle of our mind to grab control over our actions. That's where your power lies. Not in these outside circumstances that have things that are going on, right? Like Hurricane Sandy, let's talk about that. Like, that was outside of my control. If I obsess over things that are outside of my control, we lose the fact of the matter that we can actually control the most powerful things in our life, which are our habits, our characteristics, our values, and keeping yourself promises. I don't care what's going on in the government right now. I don't care that Biden just got this chick to go ahead and ride with him. I don't care about what's going on. I mean, I do care about some nasty stuff that's going on, but like, I can't control any of that. The more I worry about everybody else, the less I work on me. So I see it, I acknowledge it. I'm not blind to it, but I control what I control. And because I know that, I get better every single day that I get a chance to. And that's all it's about, man. Being better today than you were yesterday.
You touched on so many key points, right? But I don't want to gloss over the motivation really has to be driven by meaning, right? Not the mood, and just balance. This word balance is such a trigger, because so many times we think we have to balance everything, right? But if you're at work worried that you're not spending time with family, or vice versa, then when you're with family, right, you're not committed to family. So you're not really there because you're thinking about the things you didn't do while you were sitting at work thinking about, I'm not with my family. And it takes that time to understand that it is just getting in the right direction first, right? So this is big why we hear it, but if you haven't had meaning at all ever in your life, you're not just going to come up with this magical, majestical why that's going to drive you to a paradise, right? It's going to say, hey, I'm in New Jersey, I want to go to California. Okay, I have to understand I have to go west first. And that's my first thing. Okay, can I get a compass? I have no GPS. I need a compass that goes west. And if I can at least start going in that right direction, I can at least start taking steps and then figure out what it takes to get to California. And so many times we give up because our mind can't get there yet, right? Because our mind's not ready for it. And then so when we're sitting there thinking about it, we're like, somebody else must be lucky, or they started early because we all started at a place, right? And some paths are quicker than others, but it all starts with going in the right direction. And when we think about that and we know that's the first step, then we can make logical decisions. And so you've done this great transformation. What has been some of the keys to really building out a growth platform that's helped so many others?
And you kind of touched on it, man. Like the one thing was stop comparing myself to others. Stop comparing myself to others, because that jealousy, that enviness will not drive you into the place that you need to drive you into. So stop comparing your chapter 2 with everybody else's chapter 12, right? So that's the one thing. Like growth can't happen if you start comparing yourself to other people. And also you don't know what it looks like behind the camera of social media. The number 2 thing is stop looking at step 7 when you just need to look at step 1. Like you alluded to it, like where's my compass? Don't worry about how to get there just yet. Like don't worry about 1,000 miles away. Like worry about getting the compass and what's the next place I need to get to and what's the next place. So it's realizing that you have to fall in love with the process of brick by brick. You have to fall in love with the process by brick, because we all know people that got money, built a business pretty quick, and they went bankrupt within 18 months, 2 years afterwards. And why is that such a familiar thing that we all know some people? And why is it such a highly identified thing that we're actors who all of a sudden don't have a job anymore and they're out of the game, or musicians or big time athletes, they go bankrupt within 5 years? Why is that so common? It's because they didn't become the person they needed to become to grab that success and then go ahead and sustain that success. So it's the process that creates the person. And the process is this, and people aren't going to like this: failure, adversity, rinse and repeat, right? Failure, adversity, what I learned from it, how can I grow from it, and rinse and repeat. That's that. If you could sign the line to that curriculum, then you're signing up for success. Like, yeah. I think, when I look at failure, I think about the process of elimination, right? Failure is nothing but the process of the elimination that I need to get to where I want to go. And so for growth, the foundation is this: stop comparing yourself, right? Making sure that you understand it's brick by brick. The process creates the person that then creates the success. And another thing is stop trying to show up in the light without doing the work in the dark, right? And what I mean by that is when you're by yourself, when no one's watching, where your standards at? When no one's there, if I'm not over your shoulder, and you told me a week ago that you were going to lose 5 pounds, you told me that you were going to make 500 calls. When nobody's watching, what are you doing? Because that's where your destiny becomes shaped. You want to make sure that in the dark, you are putting in the work when nobody's watching. Because here's the funny part about that. You think nobody's watching. But in reality, the most important aspect of your life is watching. That is your subconscious mind. You are training your subconscious mind on a daily, minute-by-minute basis. So you think nobody's watching? The thing that actually controls you and leaks into your conscious mind to make you make decisions, your subconscious mind is always there watching. You're training it daily. You better treat every minute the way that a standard that you want to actually treat it at, as if people were watching, because that subconscious mind was, ooh, I could make an excuse here. Ooh, okay, this is a trend of eating cookies when no one's watching. Ooh, this is a trend of not going for the sale when you make calls. Ooh. And then all of a sudden, it becomes a pattern without you having true control over it. Your subconscious mind kicks in, and these bad patterns and habits start to kick in. So make sure that in the dark, When your subconscious mind is watching, you are training it properly that you are no excuses, just results. You live at a higher standard. So when you show up in the light and the opportunities are in front of you, you are the person that could truly take advantage of them and bring them to the next level.
Yeah, it's huge. How you do anything is how you do everything, right?
Absolutely.
And so when you take that level and you take that message forward, so many times we think that that person got lucky. No, they were prepared for when that opportunity came, right? And so, John, I've loved this. This has been just awesome. I've so enjoyed this. I was excited to connect with you, and it was everything I thought it would be. So thanks so much for being on the show today. Where can people find you? Where can people really check out what you're doing?
Yeah, and once again, man, it's been a pleasure, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share my message. I hope people listen, they took notes, and it resonates. And if anybody wants to find me, go on all social media platforms at Real John Marrone, and it's Marrone at Real John Marrone on YouTube, on Facebook, as well as Instagram. And do me a favor, slide into my DMs if there's something that resonated, or maybe you have a struggle that you just want to go ahead and be vulnerable about, which is another key component to success. Is transparency creates transformation. So reach out to me and tell me your story, and let's chat. And I would love to connect with everybody that's listening to this. You could also check out my podcast on all podcast platforms called Power of Progression. I've had some phenomenal guests on, like friends of mine who are Eric Thomas, Trent Shelton, Lisa Bilyeu, Emily Frisella. The list goes on. And I have my own segments as well. So our whole point is we want to give actionable tools for people to be better today than they were yesterday. That's Power of Progression. And lastly, if you're looking to possibly get into a program to up-level your life and upgrade your human, or possibly bring it to your business for somebody to speak there, go to johnmarrone.com and you'll find all the programs and opportunities to bring me aboard your business to coach them or speak to them. But once again, at Real John Marrone, Power Progression Podcast, johnmarrone.com. Any way possible, just reach out to me. I'd love to connect.
Thank you so much, John. We actually connected over DM. So he's out there, he's messaging you back. So hit him up. I mean, this has been magical. I took notes, and really just thank you for powering it forward. The Power Progression Podcast, Real John Marrone and johnmarrone.com. And you can find out everything you need to know about there. John, thanks so much again for being on the show.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
All right, so everyone listening, you got a ton of content, a ton of value out of this show today. We appreciate you. We'll see you next time.
Join us for your second cup of coffee every Monday through Friday at noon.
Live every day, bringing us our best content we've done so far. Super excited, super engaging, bunch of great guests. We're here to answer your questions, and we so appreciate you listening. Make sure to check this out.
Can't wait to see you.